Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BASF, welcome to K2019, and welcome to our last live talk for today. We will be talking about a subject which is generating a lot of interest at this year's K Fair, and that's ChemCycling. We're going to talk about how we come from this to that one, and I will not do this alone. I will do this with two experts. Volker Korten joins us from BSH, Bosch Siemens Hausgeräte, and Klaus Ries from our Global Styrenic Foams Business Management. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for being here with me. So we're talking about this prototype application. I understand that this is a special prototype. Volker, maybe you can tell us more what the motivation was behind it.
First of all, I would like to say that BSH and BASF, they have a very long-term cooperation on development, on business. And so we decided that BSH, as a responsible producer of household appliances, we want to step into a circular economy. So how can we do this? So we can change business models, we can change our products for a better recycling, and one step definitely has to do with our materials, with our plastics. And this is why we came together and we were talking, what about a product, in this case it's a drawer of a fridge, produced out of a chemical recycled material. Because this is very important for us. That's a very critical part for us because it has contact with food. So insofar there are special requirements, and we wanted to see how it works to have a nearly virgin plastic as a recycled plastic. That was the motivation.
So this is, Klaus, this is ChemCycled material. Can you describe a little more the ChemCycling process, what's special about it and what we have to take care of?
Let me quickly explain how ChemCycling works. It's easier said than done, of course, but it's as simple as that. You take plastics that today cannot be recycled mechanically. So mixed plastic waste, typically dirty, and it would be very expensive, if technically possible at all, to recycle it in the traditional way. So we take these plastics, and under heat we produce an oil, and we use this oil as feedstock for our cracker, replacing naphtha. And then we can produce basically any product of our portfolio based on recycled, chemically recycled plastics.
But you're from the styrenics business, so you said it basically produce any type of product from that recycled plastics. Is there any special importance for the styrenics business?
Let me put it this way. Of course, it's especially important for plastics, because if you open the newspaper in the morning, the likelihood is very high that you read some bad news about plastics in the environment. Nobody wants this. BASF is the least company who would like to see plastics in the environment. We don't like pollution, but we also don't like to waste valuable materials. And so the motivation to produce plastics out of this chemical process, this chemical recycling, is of course very high. And let me just, as it's close to my heart, you cannot do this with polyolefins. If you recycle polyolefins, you always have a downcycling. Basically, you can produce nice flower pots, and then you throw the flower pots away. This process is theoretically endless, and you really are close to what is a real circular economy.
Volker, is there also a certain push from your customers in the household appliances section to go further into that direction? Do you feel the need of the market?
Definitely, there's a strong push by our consumers, by society, but also by political regulation. So according to the new EU plastic strategy, we have an issue to do. But it's not just about regulation, it's also about producers' responsibility. So we are in that producer's responsibility scheme, and now we go a next step into an extended producer responsibility scheme that includes the recycling as well. Insofar, we have a huge issue to do about the recycling process. Consider that 2/3 of our appliances disappear in some channels we don't understand. But we are responsible for 100% of the recycling. Insofar, we cannot fulfill this responsibility, and so we can do this in different ways. On the one hand side, we can change our business concept. We do not sell our appliances. We lease them or we share them, so we remain the owner of the appliances, then we can decide how recycling can be. Or In the second step, we can talk about new materials that are more sustainable. And I think that this chemical recycling is a really good option for us to step into this next step of extended producer responsibility.
Right. Volker, you mentioned that there is, of course, a long-standing business relationship between BASF and BASF. But this is still something new. So how did you work together? How did you come up with the idea? Was it a drop-in solution, or did you have to develop something new, made some tweaks to the material or the process?
The charming thing about the ChemCycling is that the material is basically chemically exactly the same than a standard material. That's also one of the reasons why Volker explained you can have foot contact quality, and there are no changes whatsoever necessary to the processing, which is, of course, super incentive for everybody to use it. No investments, no problems technically. I think in the beginning it was a little bit explanation necessary how this would work, but it was a question of, I would say, 2-3 meetings maximum before you were fully convinced that this is a very good idea. And in a record time you made it possible that we were able to produce this together. This was really excellent. And another proof why our relation is long-standing and successful.
Like question goes to both of you. Do you think that this embracing circularity, bringing more sustainable raw materials in, do you think it's just a business imperative, or do you think it's also worth adding a price extra for things like that? Would customers be willing to pay more if they get a more sustainable material?
And you can ask yourself or observe yourself in the supermarket when you do your shopping, how often are you really prepared to pay for a bio label or for sustainable packaging? So we are a little bit skeptical if there will be a value added in terms of prices or margins for us as producers. I think it's more a question of responsibility.
Well, I think it's not a matter of a price. We always talk about, when we talk about sustainability, is connected with higher prices. Why? We need to reshape the business between you and us to develop new solutions and leave that path of a linear business model from take, make, waste to a circular business. And once we define this business, we don't talk about higher prices for such kind of sustainable materials, because we need to reshape the value chains. And once we have understood how it is, we can find common solutions.
I understand that this, you talked about further developing the process, that this is a prototype now, so I cannot buy it yet. But what are the next steps? When will this go into serious production? Are there plans also to use other materials maybe for the same process in your application? How do you work together?
So we have other projects in the scope, like EcoVio material. This is a packaging material. For us, this is a demonstrator towards our organization. Because currently, I was talking about a linear concept, and we have been developing products for more than 50 years. And a washing machine looks like a washing machine as it is. So there are many reasons why we design a washing machine as you can buy them. But we need to reshape this. We need to rethink a product architecture. And now our developers and designers, they have understood how it is possible. It is possible to go into more sustainable materials. Now we need to get the proof that price-wise we can keep the level maybe even better.
Is there also regulatory things to be done for this process?
Yeah, let me answer this in a second, because I just wanted to add on what Volker just has said. For us, as producer of styrenic polymers, the packaging side is at the moment most critical. Because if you have a refrigerator, of course sustainability is important, but it's a long-living product. While the packaging sometimes is only used once and gets waste after the use immediately, and we want to avoid that this is considered waste. So we will focus a lot also on EPS packaging, styropor packaging, because we believe that this is an ideal product for many packaging solutions with 98% air. And if we can manage to give it this circularity approach via ChemCycling, and also work on the perception, because I think the problem of EPS is everybody knows it. Children play with it, so when you see it in the environment, everybody says, oh, styropor again. And this is what we don't like. And I think with this ChemCycling approach, circular solutions for packaging are definitely our top priority at the moment.
And the regulatory side, that was the first topic I mentioned, is there something to be done?
At the moment, I think the EPS side is hardly affected by the Single-Use Plastic Directive, but polystyrene is, but not in such applications. It's single-use plastic, as the word says, is targeting on single-use applications. But of course, banning is not a solution if you replace it with other less sustainable solutions. So we are fighting also against bans of plastics where we believe they don't make sense for the environment.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for these insights. Great to see BASF and BASH working on this way together, based on a long-standing relationship. Very interesting talk. Klaus and Volker will be around for some more time, so feel free to approach them if you have any more questions. That was the last live talk for today. Thanks a lot and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.